Hello, everybody. So hopefully it's working now. We're going to do a stream on Dune Part 2. We might do a Command and Conquer stream afterwards. We'll have to see how it goes. Hopefully my internet is working today. So let's see where we're at. Let me just boot everything up. We're going to go to those social media platforms, to Twitter. I don't think I'm ever going to call it X. X is just like it's the most generic name possible. Like, couldn't Elon come up with something better than X? Just a little bit of housekeeping. So it seems like what people want, and I mean, it's the poll was hardly conclusive, but people do want segments from the UCU put up separately.
So hopefully
So I
it's
think what
working
I'll
now.
just
We're
try to
gonna do
do
a
is
stream.
I will put up the major ones. I'll try to keep it to maybe two or three segments per one. So hopefully that will work. Um, let's see here. I'm gonna say this. I was watching. It actually made me want to rewatch the David Lynch movie again. There's a version I found, and I'll post a link maybe in the chat in the description for this video. That I actually think is really good. It's the Spiced Diver remake or something. But I was watching it and I was just like, wow, this is so much better than the original cut. Like they break up the exposition throughout, so there's not as many just cases where um, things just stop, ground to a halt for prolonged periods of time. They remove a lot of extemporary, unnecessary stuff. Overall, I just think it's pretty good. So let me just put that in the chat. Is this running? Okay, good. It is running. It is running. So we're gonna talk about the movie. I put up my review, but we just can maybe speak about it a little bit more as it was. The more I think about it, the worse it gets. Like initially, I was just like, it's just. So I was watching it. I was so hyped and like, oh, this is really good. And then like, yeah, it's pretty good. And like, it's kind of a mixed bag. And then by the end of it, I was just like, oh, I hope this thing is over soon. The last quarter of this movie was kind of rough, and like it's funny because it's a case where when it comes to movies and just reviewing anything, there's films that I like want to like and wind up liking. There's films I want to dislike and I wind up disliking. There's things that I'm ambivalent about and I wind up liking or disliking. And it is kind of a progression there. Like if we're going to even just talk about Denis Villeneuve, Blade Runner 2045, or is it 2043, 2045? I wanted to like it, 2049, and I loved it. So I got that. So that I had a very high opinion of. Dune Part One, I wanted to like, and I liked it. I think the first part is actually substantially better than the second one. To be honest, is there any movie that like Hans Zimmer does not do the composing for? That's another question I think we need to investigate. I'm calling for a complete shutdown on soundtrack design until we know what the hell's going on. So we'll just start with the movie. So I don't complain as much as some people do regarding general changes to the story that have to be made when you're adapting something. I fully get that movies are a visual business. A book that is like an audiobook might be, I forget how long Dune is as an audiobook. We'll say 30 hours. It might be longer. You have to adapt a 30-hour audiobook or a book that takes 30 hours to read, maybe more, into a 2.5 hour movie in this case, or I guess this is two movies, so into roughly, I guess 4 or 5 hours, and that's hard, and you're going to have to make a lot of compromises. There's a lot of things in the book that are very complicated, perhaps unnecessarily so, that don't really make a lot of sense or require having read the other books. So I get it that in a lot of cases they just wanted to simplify things. They wanted to make things simpler. They wanted to reduce the overall levels of confusion. So I will give them that. That does not particularly bother me. Like, for instance, one of the changes they made is they got rid of the water of life, ending the spice reaction, um, and completely destroying it. And they changed it to using family atomics to destroy the spice fields. Now, that doesn't really make sense to a particular amount, because the spice fields will just grow back. I don't know how weak worms are to radiation. I'm sure like the atomics might kill a couple of people, but no. Having a drink of coffee. There we go. Okay, what was I thinking of again? Um, so like I get why that was changed. The water of life thing is pretty complicated. So but once again, I don't know. I kind of doubt that like radiation really affects sandworms that much. Like I don't know the ins and outs of Arrakis's atmosphere. I'd imagine though that there's a lot of solar radiation. I guess worms are underground most of the time, but they have very thick like armor plating covering their bodies. So I mean, it would have destroyed the spice. I don't know how radiation works with deserts. If it just blows away, or it would just irradiate the entire. But anyways, I get why they wanted to change it. I don't think they did it particularly well, but I'm not gonna like just shit on the movie for doing that. Another thing that I get why they took it out, although it's funny because everybody always forgets about it, is Paul and Shawnee have another child, Leto the second, who gets killed, I believe, when the Sardaukar attack the southern the southern. I'm just trying to see, where's the book titled Dune Part One. I'm just trying to find where the book page is. Dune novel and adaptations. Um, do they even like reference his son? Yeah, it takes Trevor Lover and has a son with her, Leto. Let's see here. Yeah, I think he dies when the Empire's troops. Okay, here we go. The Emperor's troops seize a Fremen outpost, killing many, including young Leto, while Alia is captured and taken to the Emperor. Okay, so yeah, his first son does die. They just got rid of that. That was just removed, which, I mean, to be fair, like, I get why they're trying to have this in a much shorter period of time. And I kind of get that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. But I'm just trying to give some examples of some changes they made that I don't necessarily mind. Like rewatching the edit of the David Lynch movie makes me kind of feel like that one was a lot better. I know it's kind of ironic considering this whole thing is supposed to be like a deconstruction of messiahs and savior narratives and stuff like that. But at the same time, I almost think it works better as just played straight, as Paul just being a traditional hero. And the end of the original film, I believe he makes it rain, which I actually kind of like. I kind of like being him being a savior figure more. Maybe that's weird, but yeah, he demonstrates his newfound powers, but fulfills the prophecy by causing rain to fall on Arrakis. Aaliyah declares him the Kwisatz Haderach. Also, just a lot of things in the David Lynch film are better explained. Like the spice is better explained. The Kwisatz Haderach is better explained. I don't know. It's just I feel like it's just a lot better and it's better done. Um, I have more of a kind of appreciation for the David Lynch movie. So let us go to let's start going through this. So let's go through the cast list. So this cast had a strange combination of really good casting and really good performances, with awful performances and awful performances and awful casting. So let's just go through them. Timothy Chalamet as Paul Atreides. Now, Paul Atreides in this is Paul is a character who really confuses me, and I'm not sure what to make of him. I'm not sure what his deal is, what his motivations are. Like, it makes sense up until about halfway through the book. And then after that, I have trouble following him, like what his goal is, why he wants to become emperor. In Dune Messiah in particular, what his like sense of logic is. I just find the whole thing really kind of hard to kind of unpack. My theory is that when he takes the water of life, he's a bit like Elia in that he is overcome by his ancestral memory, and not just that, by but his ability to see all things at all times. So that permanently kind of damages his personality. Is my theory. It permanently damages his personality, and makes him kind of an unbalanced, incomplete person. And a lot of his actions after that have to be understood within the context of um, him becoming the Kwisatz Haderach when he was not intended to be. He was a generation too early. He can't fully withstand the force of the male lineage. So that I think is one aspect of it. So that's kind of my explanation for why Paul is the way he is. But I don't know. Zenya as Chani is absolutely horrendous. It is the worst casting in this entire movie. She just sucks. Like, firstly, she isn't very attractive. Chani's supposed to be attractive in an unconventional way. It's interesting because Anna Tyler Joy makes an appearance in this as Alia. I actually think she would have been a good choice to play Chani. Um, I think that would have been interesting. But she was just the wrong choice, and her character is just a girl boss. Like, her character just constantly humiliates Paul, makes fun of him. She's like the agnostic atheist, like, oh, the old Fremen are stupid and superstitious, and I'm like this hip young new atheist, and I don't believe in the prophecy or their religion. They call the Fremen in the South, like, they basically portray them as being like rednecks and hicks and backwards and stuff like that. It's been a while since I read the book, but I feel like Chani was like very proud of her um, heritage. That she Yeah, that she was very proud of her heritage, that she did think Paul was the Messiah, or at least she believed in him personally. In this movie, there's absolutely no chemistry between the two of them. Like, Timothy just seems like to kind of be like a Giesler version of of Edward Cullen. He just seems to be like a complete pussy, completely like just kind of horny, and that's why he's after her. It's just not good. There's no chemistry. It just you just feel bad for Paul and most of the scenes they're on together, as she just routinely kind of humiliates him. So she's a girl boss. She disrespects Stilgar openly. She disrespects the other religious Fremen. The idea that there are a substantial number of young irreligious Fremen just seems really weird to me. It would be like in the, I don't know, 12th or 13th century, like you have a Bedouin tribe. Well, they basically are Bedouin, and you have like the entirety of the next generation just randomly be atheists, randomly just be like, Islam is bad, we don't believe in it anymore, like with no external influences. It's just really weird to me. um there's almost kind of the implication that she wants based civic nationalism as opposed to ethnic or religious nationalism. It's just cringe. And at the end of this movie, she like, because the movie's pretty different, she just leaves. She just GTFOs and just like, fuck it, I'm just leaving. Paul is cheating on me with Irulan. So she brings the movie down. They give her way more screen time than she had in the book. I don't even necessarily mind that. Chani is an important character. She's kind of the center of like Paul's motivation in his life. But I don't like how they changed her. They made her from being kind of the this uh foreign alien window that takes Paul into the Fremen world, into like this generic like teenage girl boss who just like shits on him constantly. Like it's awful. It's really bad. Rebecca Ferguson, I think, does a good job as Lady Jessica. Honestly, of the actresses who's played her, she might be my favorite. To be perfectly honest, I think she does a really good job at it. Now, the thing about Shawnee in the movie is it's like we needed a strong female character. I'm like, yeah, because Frank Herbert's books aren't known for their strong female characters. Like that's kind of half the point of Dune is you have the Bene Gesserit who are all extremely like powerful. Jessica is a very powerful female character. She's more feminine, I guess, and that's bad, but she's a strong female character. We have Irulan. We have I forget her name, her older sister. There's a lot of like we have Alia, we have I forget her name, but you have a lot of like strong female characters in Dune, but that wasn't good enough. Like we have to have girl boss. Rebecca Ferguson, I think, had an interesting take on the character. She started off kind of very cynical, just trying to get people to believe that Paul was the Messiah as a way of preserving kind of their ability to continue on. But I feel like she actually, at least in this adaptation, she became a true believer. That she started to actually believe in the prophecy, like that the prophecy wasn't just something that the Bene Gesserit had implanted on this planet, as they had in a lot of different locations. That it wasn't just fake; that there was actually something behind it. And I thought that was kind of an interesting transition, and her kind of becoming the opposite of Chani, like the driving force behind Paul accepting his religious transition. Josh Brolin, I thought did a great job as Gurney Halleck. Gurney's supposed to be like a rough and tumble working class guy from Deity Prime. His sister, if you read the prequels, his sister like got turned into a sex slave He wound up killing her actually because he found her like ravaged by STDs. I think she lost all her teeth, and she tried to have sex with him because her mind was so broken from the drugs they were feeding her. So he winds up, I think, strangling her. Uh, so yeah, he was from like a working class family on Deity Prime. And he's just supposed to be a really rough and tumble guy, but he also likes Shakespeare and music. And I think at least when he was younger, he was a devotee of the Orange Catholic Bible. So I thought Josh Brolin did a good job. The scenes where he's with Paul among the Fremen and it's really awkward because he just doesn't act like the Fremen, I thought was really good. He was one of the better parts of the movie. I'm going through the actors because the actors I think really kind of made or hurt the film. I'm gonna go back and say that I think that Jason Momoa was really good as Duncan Idaho. I think he was a really good pick. Jason Momoa is a very charismatic actor, and and he's good in that role. He's good in the role of the badass, the kind of down to earth badass. The scene where he fights the Sardaukar is one of the best scenes in the movie. He did a really good job. He was a highlight of the first film. Austin Butler as Fade Rotha was not. I don't know what they were trying to do like with this character. Let's take a look at what Fade Rotha looks like in the new movie. Like, what did they do to him? Why does he look like an engineer from Prometheus? One second, let me just see here. Yeah, he looks like an engineer from Prometheus, doesn't he? Kind of. Like, I don't get why they went with him. Like, Fade is supposed to be very charming and charismatic and handsome, and he is a psychopath, but he's supposed to be kind of the face of like House Harkonnen. That unlike his brother, he's very like people like him when they first meet him. He's charming. He's seen as kind of like the good part of the house, even if that's not really true. That like Baron Harkonnen is a freak of nature. Fade is a beast, but no, sorry, Raban is a beast, but Fade is like the hope of the house, and they just made him into like this weirdo monster thing. So I thought his performance was pretty awful, to be honest. It was a cool scene on Yeti Prime because in this one, at least, Yeti Prime has a black sun, so you had really cool visual effects there. So we had that. Florence Pugh as Princess Irulan. Now this surprised me because I don't find the actress very attractive, and Irulan's supposed to be like this tall, gorgeous, statuesque blonde. And she's just not at all. I don't think the actress is very tall, but she actually did a really good job. I was kind of shocked actually. She really captured the character as like the how tall is she? She's pretty short. Yeah, 5'3", 5'2" Irulan should be substantially taller than that. But she captured the intellectualism, I think, very well, the seriousness, the also just the character's issues with trying to kind of serve both the Bene Gesserit and serve her father. So I think she did a really good job. Dave Bautista did an okay job as Raban. He was fine. The problem is I found the two characters were very similar. Perhaps the worst performance, and it's kind of it's close between this and this. Why is Christopher Walken Shaddam the Fourth? Why? I don't get like it doesn't make any sense to me. Like Christopher Walken is firstly way too old. Um, Shaddam Carino is supposed to look like he's in his 40s, despite being only being 70 years old. He's supposed to be kind of like uh, Kaiser Wilhelm. Like he's a tough guy. He thinks he's a militarist. He thinks he's a lot smarter than he is. He wears a military uniform all the time. Stuff like that. He really likes to like slum it with the Sardaukar and stuff like that. I don't really get it. It just seems really weird to go with Christopher Walken, this like soft spoken, and they didn't even ham it up at all. Like to me, Shaddam the Fourth is supposed to be very like kind of hammy, like over the top. Like I thought the best portrayal is still the original actor, who's too old, but he has the uniform. We have the obviously like some great lines like "Bring in the floating fat man" and stuff like that. I think there needed to be some more camp like that. I don't know why Christopher Walken was chosen. Doesn't make sense. Leia Sado as Margot Fennering was fine. I don't have any issue with that. Stella Skarsgård was okay as Vladimir Harkonnen. He just didn't really get a lot of screen time. It was a very subdued performance, which I don't particularly mind. I think all three of them were pretty good. He was pretty good. The guy they got in the miniseries was pretty good, and the guy in the original was pretty good. The Baron's supposed to be clever and threatening, but also kind of a comedic figure. He's a Shakespearean villain, so you can kind of go either way with him. I actually think the best actor was probably the guy from the miniseries, as I think he did a good job of balancing the threatening and other stuff. I don't know. I don't even remember Helen Mohim. The highlight of the movie, by far the best performance, was Javier Bardem as Stilgar. He did an amazing job. A really, really good job. I remember when I saw the first movie, I immediately liked his portrayal of Stilgar. He almost seemed like he was kind of drunk in the first one. I kind of like to call him the Boomer Fremen because he's like kind of the center right Fremen. He's very kind of traditional and old school. He believes very strongly in the prophecy. He's very supportive of Paul, but you do get this just sincerity just rolls off of him. That he's like a genuine leader. Like he's a leader who loves his people, who cares for them, who genuinely believes strongly, who's a strong believer in Buddha Allah and his will, and who thinks that Paul is the Messiah who's come to lead them away. And it's very I like it. There's a certain almost naive, childish naivety to him that is something I kind of view as probably being an aspect of Fremen culture. Um, and once again, I just think he did a really, really good job. The scene where he gives Paul his name is probably might be the best scene in the movie. I do love that scene in the book where Paul's like, "Can I, what's the name of the kangaroo mouse?" And everyone kind of laughs, but then Stilgar goes, Muad'Dib is a wise creature. It may be a little mouse, but he can survive in the desert. He's cunning. He's efficient, stuff like that. So he's a wise creature. So don't laugh at the kangaroo mouse. And I like that a lot. He was by far the highlight of the film. Um, I liked him. I liked him a lot. Uh, so this movie ended on a cliffhanger. Chani just runs away. She's like, I don't believe in the prophecy. At the end of this movie, the great houses refuse to accept him. So the Fremen immediately begin the Holy War. At the end of this movie, there's just a bunch of ships that are randomly there. All the Fremen jump on them and then they fly away. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Um, my understanding was the Great Houses initially sort of accepted Paul, but then started to rebel almost immediately. once his back was turned, and then it was this long campaign of 7 years, gradually beating them into submission, not this immediate thing. It's also just really G-slur that they call it the Holy War. It's not a jihad. It's a holy war. We can't use the term jihad anymore. I call it the Atreides Special Military Operation. Um, that's my name for their campaign to subjugate the universe. Um, but it's just kind of it's just lame. Like a lot of the stuff just isn't very well explained. I don't. I feel like the importance of spice isn't well explained in this. A lot of the background isn't well explained. I don't think they even really explain the whole like why the reason the emperor gives for killing Leto is really lame. It's like Leto was a soft man who listened to his heart. It's like that's not why the emperor killed him. The emperor killed him because he was afraid of him. Because Leto was this popular, charismatic figure who was beloved by the people of Kaladin, who was widely respected, who was building his elite army of Atreides troopers, who were going to be a real threat to the emperor. But now it's like, oh, he's the heart. I mean, ideally, what the emperor probably should have done when it became clear that he couldn't have any male heirs is just marry Irulan to Leto. I mean, Leto wasn't too old for that. That probably would have made the most sense. Or Irulan married to Paul. Either of them probably would have made a worthy successor. Marrying her to Fade is just kind of a bad idea because Fade is crazy. So I don't know. It's just it's very meh. It's not good. The last battle scene is terrible in my opinion. Like they blow up the shield wall, they ride in on the worms. The Sardaukar just gets slaughtered in 3 seconds flat. We don't even really get to see them fighting. They just get completely destroyed, and it kind of irritates me because they built the Sardaukar up in the first movie as being like these ultimate badasses, and then they just die off screen. Like I would have liked it if the fight scene had gone on for 5 to 10 minutes, and the Sardaukar start out as being like in formation and really confident, and then they just start to get their asses kicked by the Fremen, and they eventually just start to like lose faith, and then maybe they like break and run towards the end of it, and it's supposed to be these like invincible fanatical soldiers have finally met their match. Instead, they just kind of die off screen, and it's really lame. Um, the fight between Paul and Fade, I didn't think was that good. I thought it was better done in the Lynch movie. I don't know. It was just kind of like not very good. It's kind of how I describe it. Um, so I think that is kind of my review, my further thoughts. I covered a lot of that in my initial one, but yeah. So hope you found that interesting. Hope you enjoyed that mini review. I might do a